Hey there, YouTube. So in today's segment, I wanted to talk to you about the real estate professional election. So the real estate professional election is for individual taxpayers, U.S. taxpayers, and it's effectively an election you make on an annual basis on your Form 1040 tax return that allows you to use all of your rental property losses and offset those losses against other types of income. So wages, interest, dividends, other forms of active income that you might have earned during the year. Now, why is that important? It's important because under the tax code, rental property losses, so that happens mostly, well, it happens frequently because of depreciation, right? We're all familiar with rental property income, normally cash flow positive, but you take losses because of depreciation expense. The losses under the tax code are per se passive activity. So because rental property is a per se passive activity, the passive activity loss rules apply, which say that you cannot offset passive activity losses with other active income. You can only use the losses against other passive activities, right? And so if you have yourself in a situation where you have all these passive activity losses, and then maybe you have some active income over here where you have wages, interest, dividends, you can't take those rental property losses and offset them against the other income to reduce your tax profile, right? If you could, then it would reduce your taxable income, you get a bigger refund. The real estate professional election allows you to do that. It allows you to offset your other active income with those losses. So how do you qualify for this? Well, you can't just own one property. You can't just be dabbling kind of in the real estate sector, right? So in order to qualify, there's really two tests, right? There's two big tests, you gotta meet both of them. The first one there, more than half of the personal services you performed in trades or businesses during the year were performed in real property trades or businesses in which you materially participated, okay? So you've got to be materially involved in running the rental property business, and more than half of the services you performed during the year were in that space. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, because that one's kind of tricky. Then the second bullet point is a little more obvious, right? So you perform more than 750 hours of services during the year in that real property trade or business space, okay? So that's kind of easy, right? I mean, you basically keep a timesheet, right? Just like you would at like your other regular day job. How many hours do you spend every week in that real property trade or business space? So managing the rentals, talking to tenants, if you're in the flipping business, talking to contractors, all that kind of stuff. Track your hours. During the year, did you hit at least 750? You need to hit at least 750 or else it won't qualify. So that's the second bullet point that's very, very important. So back to the first one, that's a little trickier. I think the best way to go over this is just through some examples. Okay, so let's look at the next slide here and cover some examples, and then it'll help illustrate the point as to how you meet this more than one half and how this is the one that people get most hung up on. A lot of people meet that 750, or they think they get there, they're close to there, but they're totally kind of beyond far away from meeting this one half services piece. So let's look at some examples to try to illustrate the point. Okay, so first example here, we have Bob, that's an attorney, practices primarily in real estate law, and he works 1,800 hours a year, right, as a lawyer. Okay, 1,800 hours a year, probably standard work year, right? 2,080 hours, take some time off for vacation. 1,800 hours, that's what he does as an attorney. So then Bob also owns these rental properties, right? So, and he actively manages them. So he materially participates in them. He doesn't have a management company. And during the year, he logs 400 hours managing the properties. Well, Bob is not going to be a real estate professional because he fails both tests, right? He's not a professional because first, he didn't meet that 750 hour minimum, right? That was the easy test. He did 400, not 750, fails there anyway. But let's look at the first one. He did not spend more than half of his work year, managing the rental properties, right? So we do some simple math here. If he logged 1,800 hours as an attorney, if he wants to meet that threshold of hitting more than one half of his year in the real estate space, he would need to do at least 1,801 hours during the year in order to meet that greater than 50% test, right? Because if you put the two together, right, so they got, what is it, 3,601 hours, my math right? Yeah, 3,601 hours. If that's your total work year and you multiply that by 50%, if you hit the 1801 on the real estate side, now he's at more than half his work year is over it. He's got to hit that threshold, more than one half, or else he fails it. And this is where a lot of people get burned, is because they think that they might get close to that 750 or a little over it, but then when they look at their day job, they can't even come close because they're already spending a ton of hours doing their 9 to 5. So the real estate professional, the first point here is the real estate professional election really only works if you don't have a W-2 salary job doing something else. If you're working in some other space, you're probably not going to meet this exception, right? You've got to only be in this rental or this real estate trader business space in order to meet this exception. Okay, so let's look at example number 2. Sarah is a software developer. She works 800 hours a year for a tech company, right? So part-time as a software developer. She owns 5 residential rental properties, which she manages, and she logged the 755 hours a year. So Sarah, again, this is a tricky one, right? Sarah's not a real estate professional. She met the 750-hour minimum, right? She did 755, just barely made it. But she did not meet the one half of the year managing the rental properties, right? Because she worked 800 hours a year as a software developer. So we go back to the top one there, the same math, right? If you worked 800 hours as a software developer, you would need to have at least 801 hours in the real trader business space, okay? So if you're not doing at least more than 50% of your time in the real property trader business space, you're not going to meet this, even if you hit that 750-hour mark. So let's look at another one that might actually work. Okay, so James, he works part-time as an accountant for a CPA firm, logs 10 hours a week for 520 hours per year, right? Definitely part-time, 520 hours a year, not bad. He owns 3 rental properties, and he does 800 hours a year managing the rental properties. James meets the real estate professional exception, right? So let's look at the math. He hit the 750-hour mark, right? He did 800 hours managing the properties. He needed 750, done. He meet that test. But let's look at the first one. The hours spent on the real estate activities are at least 50% of his total hours worked during the year, right? So if we look at all of his work hours, he did 520 hours at the CPA firm, 800 hours working for the rental properties, managing those. So 1,320 hours worked during the year, right? If we take the 800 real estate hours divided by the total 1,320, 60.6% of his time was in real estate. So he meets both tests. He meets the 750 and he meets the greater than one half time spent in the real property trader business space. You can see now just from the illustrations here that meeting this exception is tough. It really is tough. You really have to be full-time in this space in order to get this exception. If you're working another job, you might not get it. It really comes down to what your hours are at the other job. So very important to be careful when making this election. A lot of people think that, oh, well, yeah, I'll just check this box on the TurboTax software because, yeah, I own 5 properties. I'm a real estate professional. It's not, you really need to dive into the details and see what does that mean? Do you meet the exception? Can you take this election? And I've seen countless audits in this space. Too many people are self-preparing returns, or they have CPAs preparing returns that aren't, very knowledgeable of these rules, and they're checking that box so that all of the losses pass through, and it really lowers your client's taxable income, and they get this huge refund. Well, 2 years later, they get an audit notice from the IRS because they want to make sure that you actually meet the real estate professional exception. And a lot of them are slam dunks. The IRS definitely takes the low-hanging fruit. If they can look at your return and they see you have a salary, your line 1 wages are from a completely unrelated job, they're going to know that you're not going to meet this, right? If examples 1 and 2. They're going to know that, okay, look, you've got a W-2 salary, you're, an architect or a doctor, or you work as a tech developer or something here, and you have all this extra money to invest in real property, but your hours are not there, definitely not there, and so they just know that this is going to be a win for them, and they audit you, and they normally do win. It is it's an uphill battle if you get audited for this election and your hours aren't verifiable, under these rules. So Yeah, so that's the takeaway. Be very careful when you make this election, but if you do qualify, incredibly valuable, right? Being able to offset losses or offset other active types of income with real property, trade, or business losses that would otherwise be passive activity. So yeah, that covers it. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Thanks.